All right, guys, so what I want to talk about right now is what I affectionately refer to as king game, which is where you are the king. And this is something that, if you think about it, like you spend a lot of time going out, talking to girls, going to bars. Like every time you go out, you're starting afresh, more or less. If you build up your life with great passive value, if you become the king of your own life, then you start to generate what I would call compound interest on your social investments. So as a strategy, as a social strategy in my own life, what I started to do probably 10 years ago, so I was like, I'm not going to work so hard at like going out to bars and learning pickup. I'm going to learn or work on having really cool friends, either having a great place to go or being friends with somebody who's got a great place to go, and bringing a lot of value to social situations so that I can be the boss, the king, whatever. And in those social situations, the big win is that women are generally very responsive to value and status. And if you are one of the highest value or highest status men in the room, because of the value that you created, women are just naturally attracted to you. A lot of the hard work is done. So the core of king game is putting yourself in the best possible light that women want to be a part of. I'll repeat that, putting yourself in the best possible light that women want to be a part of. And it's not going to be all women because, listen, if you want to do the models and bottles crowd, you're going to get a certain type of woman and you're going to have to be a certain type of guy, right? For me, it was just very simple. Have really cool friends who reflect the values that I share, have cool spaces to get people together, and have fun. It's just that simple. So you're going to establish alpha status in that way by being the leader of this, cool, high-value scene. Again, how do you describe the owner, the facilitator, the connector? You can add value simply by being the connector. I always tell guys, well, hey, listen, if you don't have a place to throw a party, just be the one who finds the guy who's got a really cool place and who's not having parties, and be the one who brings the party to him, because that guy needs a party. So in my life, again, a few examples have been the DJ. Sometimes I've been the cook. I've had a friend who, he lived with his father for years, but he and I were really good friends, and he'd come to my house, and he would always be the cook. And he was in charge of the kitchen. Like, woe betide you if you fucked with him when he was in the kitchen. He would, have people do stuff. He was the king of the kitchen. Be the host of the party. It's kind of obvious. Or even, I had a friend who we called this guy the 99 Bananas guy. Y'all know 99 Bananas? Anybody? Yeah. I'm so not surprised that both of you know 99 Bananas. It's, in my opinion, one of the best liquors ever invented, but depending on who you talk to, it could also be the worst. It's a very high-proof liquor that is flavored like bananas. So there was a guy who every party he showed up to, he showed up with 99 bananas. And you don't sip it. You shoot 99 bananas. This is not a sipping alcohol. So if there's that, there's going to be shots. And where there are shots, there's going to be people having fun. So this guy, Chris, he had a lot of other stuff going for him, but whatever party he went to, he was the 99 bananas guy. And you just show up. When Chris walked in the door, everybody knew what he was carrying with him. And it was like, oh shit, it's that time. And he'd be like, it is, and he'd pull it out, and everybody knew. And the girls who didn't know him would see everybody's attention go to Chris, and he'd be holding up this fucking bottle of 99 bananas. And so all of a sudden, everybody's attention is on him. He's not the host, he's just one of the esteemed guests of the parties, but he's a rock star. It's because he's established that value for himself. A more domesticated version of that, my girlfriend makes what I would argue to be the best artichoke dip in the world. And these days, when we show up to parties, we bring the artichoke dip, and you better believe that we are everybody's sworn. They're like, oh, did you bring the artichoke dip? So just being the person who brings that one thing that everybody wants and everybody's excited about, and establishing that pattern for yourself. I used to do this thing, and I got into a little trouble doing this because I didn't have enough money at the time. But I would do this thing where I went out to nightclubs, and my shtick was 10 shots of Patron. So I would be with my crew, and I knew some promoters, and I'd be like, all right, waitress, 10 shots of Patron. There's just something about 10 shots of Patron showing up at the table that you're creating a party. So, so just a few examples, and I kind of got known as that. I'd walk in and people would know, like, you know, then you're kind of expected to keep buying 10 shots of Patron, and it sucks when you switch to Don Julio. People don't like that. Or not Don Julio. What's the shitty one? Yeah, Cuervo. You can't step down. They're like, dude, where's the Patron? Oh, we got Cuervo today. I, you know, can't afford Patron anymore. Yeah. Like, okay, you should go to that club down the street. You're no longer welcome here. But so that's the basics of King Game, is just put yourself in the best possible light people want to be a part of, create a scene, or really add distinctive value to a scene. The second part is get your friends to pimp you out. And like, I know this sounds kind of weird, but you should have honest conversations with your friends. If they like you, if they respect you, if they know you're single, just be honest with them. Be like, yo, like, can you talk to her about how awesome I am? And you'd be surprised. They'll be like, actually, no, yeah, I can. How do you engender this respect that allows them to do that? Is you be an awesome friend to them first. Like, and this is just, you know, human being awesomeness 101. Just be an awesome friend to your friends. Like, take care of them. Go out of your way for them. If something goes wrong for them, you know, I'm not going to dwell on that. But, you know, be an awesome friend for them. You can expect reciprocity, and you can ask for reciprocity in return. There's been plenty of times when I've been like, hey, man, listen, like, this girl, I'm really interested in her. I'm going to leave you alone with her for just a second. Can you just, like, talk about how fucking great I am? My buddies are like, yeah, sure. I'm like, cool. I've gone. I come back, and, like, the girl's like, like, he was just telling me how, like, you did this and that. I'm like, oh, was he telling you that stuff? Like, gosh, like, that's so nice, you know? So it's, like, just ask your friends to talk you up. If you're a good guy, if you're an honest guy, they will. The things that you want them to be talking about, if you're really going to start guiding them, and I've had these conversations with a couple of my buddies, because we'll do it with each other, right? This is winging. Is I want them to talk about how hardworking I am, what a risk taker I am, and what a leader I am. So those are the three things: hardworking, risk taker, and leader. You know, I don't necessarily want them to be like, like, I don't want them to be like, yeah, like, he's the best partier in the world. Like, every time we go out to the club, like, he's the one dancing on the couches with all the model chicks. That's probably not what they should be saying to a girl who I want as my girlfriend. They should be saying, God, like, he's, you know, this guy's, he's just so solid. Like, it's the way he takes care of his employees, the way he works with his customers, you know, and he's always coming up with new things, new plans. Sometimes they're a little crazy, but, so, like, those are the conversations you want him to be having with her. And then a third part of King Game is just bringing a girl into your life the right way. That's the big point. What do I mean by that? Just bringing a girl into your life with fun activities that you've already planned. Stuff that you're already planning to do with your buddies. You have the surfing day or the snowboarding club, or you are doing, like, you know, Wednesday wine and classic movie nights, or something like that. I'll give you a few examples later. These sort of really cool things that you're just doing as a part of your life, invite a girl to them. And it's worth taking a moment to say this, because I know that I used to be, I remember when I was like 24, my whole winter was I stayed at home, I got stoned every night, and I ate cookie dough, and I watched South Park on my laptop. And, like, you couldn't pick a more, like, crappy single life. And it was, you know, it was sad. And I look back on my life in the last, like, 10 years, I'm 34 now, and I look back on my life in the last 10 years, it's like I had to break out of that rut, and I started doing awesome shit. And, you know, we sometimes we go onto YouTube and we'll, like, post comments. I've got this Mexico story you'll be hearing in a moment. And I've got this, it's a great story. It's an awesome thing I did. And guys will write and they'll be like, dude, I've never done something like that. Like, you know, what am I supposed to do? I would just say, like, to anyone, like, I don't mean to sound like a dick, but, like, this is your fucking life, and if you're not living it as awesomely as you can, then you're missing out. And, like, I was sitting at home watching South Park, eating cookie dough and getting high. Like, what a waste of a fucking life. You know, like, I always wanted to go skydiving. Finally did it. Swam with whale sharks. Climbed a volcano. Like, these are things that, yeah, like, in some cases they might take money. In some cases they don't. But, like, just, I know it's, like, sounds like a dick as I say it, but this is your fucking life. So do cool things with it, and make it a point to do cool things with it. and orient your life so you do cool things with your life. And that's how you have awesome stories to share with girls, and that's how you bring girls into these things. So if you're not, like, just a little wake-up call, if you're like I was, you're sitting at home and just kind of letting life pass you by. So to recap that section of King Game, it's very simple. Just do cool stuff with your life, invite girls into it, create value, and let other guys look up to you because you're the one who created all this value. Now that's the light side of King Game. That's how you kind of create the environment for girls to be attracted to you. How do you manage and manipulate the social situation when you're in? This is what I call the dark side of King Game. This is where we start to apply some social dynamics, and we start kind of making things a little bit more useful in our favor. There's a story about my friend David Tian, and when he was getting into the world of dating advice, somehow he crossed paths with the Chinese mafioso. And we always thought this is a great way to illustrate the notion of what we call value transference. So in the Chinese mafioso world, what he noticed is you had these, I don't know how he got connected with these guys, but he'd go into these like gang rooms, and there'd be a gang boss in the gang room. And there'd be the gang members, and the gang members were, beneath or lower in status to the gang boss. And sometimes, and the gang boss never talked. He was very like, he was the boss. He didn't have to talk. Everybody kind of worked for him. So every now and then, a gang member would bring a girl in, and he would be interested in her, and the boss would, be interested in the girl. So he'd call the gang member over, and the guy would like start talking to him, and the gang member was so deferential to the boss that the girl's attraction would just sort of transfer right from the gang member onto the boss. And that's really what we're kind of working with here, is we're working with what we call value transference, where a girl values either the scene you create or some people in it, and where if you are the alpha and you're able to do some of the stuff that I'm going to share with you, her interest in the value that she ascribes to that scene and those people is going to transfer onto you. So does that sort of clear that concept of value transference and how it can work? Maybe we've seen this happen in our own lives with people who are higher status or more alpha than us. So how do we establish that alpha status? Here's a few steps. I've been through some of these already, but this would be the step-by-step. Create and be the leader of a high-value scene. So could be dinner parties, could be DJing, what have you. Second thing is find cool, unique guys to compliment you. Some cool and unique guys in this room right here. Unfortunately, many of you will be spreading across the continental U.S. So find some cool, unique guys to compliment you who want to be a part of that scene. You could call them wingman, you could call them your boys, call them whatever. You're going to lead, this is step 3, lead by creating value for everyone. This is where, to use an old line, you do the work, you get the perks. You create the value. You're the one who's combing through the blogs and trying to find the cool new bar that everybody wants to check out but nobody's heard of yet. You're the one who's doing the work, like organizing the party, who's finding the best mountain to go to for snowboarding, who's like, contacting the skydiving company and doing all the research to see which skydiving company is the best one to be a part of. You're the one doing the work. You're creating the value. You're the leader. When you're able to do that, when you are the leader, what happens is you put yourself in a position to give tasks and approval to the guys in the group. And this is a pivotal part of doing it. So, if we're throwing a party here, and I'm saying, hey, we need to move that couch over that way. Evan, can you push the couch? I'm not, on one hand, when I talk about it like this, it sounds very conscious. It sounds like I'm like trying to tool Evan. On the other hand, when I'm creating value by just being the leader, it's not that I'm trying to be alpha, I've got a vision of how things need to be. Hey, can you put the couch over there? Awesome, thanks, man. Can you guys move that, and actually we need to do this and that. Thank you so much. All right. So I'm giving tasks. I'm giving approval when people complete the tasks. Very subtle. The next part is the scenes start to happen. Things are going down, right? So maybe it's a party. Maybe it's skydiving, right? We'll use skydiving. I just went skydiving, a good example. Went with a big group. And everybody's really excited to go up in the air. Of course. I was kind of freaked out. But everybody's excited, and they're asking us, like, how are you guys feeling? And everybody's like, woo, right? So my response is like, yeah, really excited about this. So your responses are just a little bit muted. Think about the gang boss. The gang boss is not gonna, like, you take everybody to skydiving, he's not gonna be like, all right, you know, unless he's the leader. If he's the leader of the group, if he's the one who's got to get everybody excited, then that's him creating the value. But if somebody else is, you know, if, like, bottles start going off in the nightclub, everybody's excited, you're like, bring him this way. It's just very subtle approval, subtle acceptance. You're not too excited by everything. You just expect this is what's going to happen. You're also going to selectively ignore people when they talk. So we'll demonstrate that in just a little bit. But this is a very powerful one, selectively ignoring people. And then finally, you can actually withdraw. So I've done this quite a few times where I've created the party, everybody's having fun, I've created the value, I've kind of given my gift to the moment, and then I get bored with it. I'm like, I think I want to go read in my room, something. There's a girl who's attracted to you. When you withdraw, she will come find you, only if you created the value first. But I have done this time and time and time again. This was my social strategy. Create the party, get everybody there, get everyone excited, lead, bring the energy up, get a few people drinking, taking shots, having fun, make sure the music's good, shake some hands, be happy, smiling, etc. Thing is, I'm an introvert by nature, so I just naturally get fatigued when I'm like in social situations. So this started off for me just being like, I'm tired right now, I gotta go like just chill out, take a break from socializing for a second. All of a sudden, there's a girl in my room. She's like, hey, where'd you go? I'm just a little tired. Started doing it a little bit more. I realized, wow, this is a pattern. Every time I withdraw, the girl who's interested in me comes and finds me, or maybe a couple girls come and find me. And then all of a sudden, there's this little party in my room, and crazy shit happens. So create that value in the room, and you withdraw from it. You, if you're the cook at a dinner party, you're like leading everything, you pull everything together, you get it all on the table, and then you just sit down, you chill out, and you let people enjoy your creation. You don't have to totally withdraw at that point. Just chill out. So those are a couple of the social dynamics you can use to establish that alpha status. Now, there's another thing that's, if you guys have seen the first version of the course, you've heard me talk about this before, the genius acolyte and the bozo straw man. Is this familiar with anyone? All right. So this, again, is something that came out naturally in some of my conversations, and then David Tian actually called me out. He was like, you do this every time you're talking to a girl who you like, and like you got to know that it's very effective, but it also, like, it could piss people off. And I've hurt a few friends from doing this. I didn't mean to. It just came about. Once I became conscious of it, I learned to selectively use it rather than just every time. So the point of this is when you're talking to a woman, there's going to be two men in your life who you talk about. The genius acolyte, the guy who, he learned everything from me, to put it in very crude terms, and the bozo straw man. The straw man is obviously somebody who we knock down, right? So the bozo is like this other dude in your life who, like, he's trying to get it together, but like he's just not quite there. So these are two characters that you're going to talk about in your life in a story that you're going to tell to a girl, presumably, on the first date, maybe the second date it comes out. It could come out first impression when you're meeting her, but less likely. So the key is to talk approvingly or disapprovingly about these people. I'll use a specific example in my life. My genius acolyte would be this guy Fran. Some of you have heard of Fran or talked to Fran. He started off years ago as a client, and now he does a lot of our marketing and kind of training him to manage the business. So he's become amazing. And if I were to talk to a girl, maybe on a date, I'd be like, yeah, like, I got to tell you, this is some awesome shit happening in my company this week. This guy who I've been working with for the last few years, like, I just saw him step up to another level. And I'm so impressed with it. Like, just the way he's taking responsibility, he's like solving problems that I didn't even expect him to solve. He's figuring things out that I didn't even realize like were issues. It's just awesome to see this happening. So you see how I'm talking about him there. I'm not talking about him in the sense like he did this and he did that, and I taught him everything he knows. I'm like, I took this little bird and I nurtured him a little bit, and now he's out of the cage and he's like flying free in the air. So I'm not having ownership of him, but I'm still discussing him in a way that that puts me in a high status position relative to him and shows that I have authority over other men. And that's the key. The bozo, on the other hand, the bozo straw man. So I'll use a great example from my last relationship. From my current relationship, is when I met my current girlfriend, there were two guys living at my house, and they were on my couch, and they were living there they had been there for about 2.5, 3 weeks. And I actually told her, I was like, well, look, I'd love to have you over, but, there's these guys who just kind of set up a commune in my apartment, and like, it's just a little messy in there. So I just want to warn you about that right now. And she's like, oh, what's going on with them? I was like, well, like, I don't know, I call them like Taco Bell Boy 1 and 2 because I feel like if there's Taco Bell has like a target demographic of people who like watch and resonate with their commercials, it's like these two guys. So immediately you can see I'm like kind of putting them down, kind of tooling them. But you've got to bring it around. You've got to say like, but you know what? Like one of them, like I don't like one of them that much, but the other one, he's like a really good dude. I'm just trying to like give him some space to like get his life together, get a head start. Like, I was able to go home to my parents when I fucked up my life. He doesn't really have that, so like, he's just chilling there right now. So the key as you talk about the bozo straw man is you're subtly putting him down, but you're at the same time being like, but you know what, he is a good dude and I'm trying to help him out. And that is what makes you not an asshole when you talk about him. Like I've done this in the past with other guys, be like, gosh, like I really wish he could get a girlfriend. Like he's just such a nice guy. Like he's a really good dude. And like he would treat somebody so well. I'm not quite sure like what he's like just not getting right now. Like sometimes we'll go out and he just kind of says the wrong thing. And you can see girls like turned off, and I just want to step in and be like, no, but wait, like he's a really nice guy. So like that, you say that about a guy in your life, and it kind of, it shows that you've got some status over him. And I'm like, look, I've tried to help him out a little bit, like talk to him here and there, but just like can't quite pull it together yet. So those two characters, when you're talking about those people in your life, that's great conversation to have on probably a second date. You're bringing her into your life. Those two characters go a long way in establishing this alpha status, this idea that you're the king of something. And it's more on a subconscious level that they register in a girl's mind, but believe me, she will notice. How do you balance against this dark side that we're talking about? Because we're talking about some pretty manipulative stuff. We're talking about throwing one of our friends under the bus. We're talking about kind of being a dick in some ways. How do you balance against this? Very simply, you cultivate excellence in your own life, and you expect excellence from those around you. I expect excellence from Fran, and he delivers it, and that's what's amazing. So I don't feel like I'm throwing him under the bus. I cultivate excellence in my life, and when my friends when they can't come through on that, I get disappointed in them, and that's it. So these things are truly reflections of your feelings for other human beings if you do cultivate excellence in your life. So that is that. Let's do a couple of demonstrations now we talked about a few ways to manage situational value in the king game context. We're going to do a few demonstrations with Evan and with Alicia, and we're just going to show how I might lose or gain value. So you guys want to come on up here? So the first one I want to demonstrate is being introduced to a girl. So this happened a lot. This happened all the time when I was throwing parties, is people would bring their girls to my house. And there's, worse things that can happen if you're a single guy. Now, whenever I'd meet the girl who I really liked, this, inevitably there'd be like some really pretty girl who got brought to the house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to see what happens with her tonight, right? So inevitably there was that girl. When I met her, I did the opposite of what you might expect. I just kind of ignored her a little bit. So let's imagine that you guys are coming in, I'm like, here, maybe I'm cooking food, right? So I'm in the middle of dinner. This is an exact replay of a scenario that happened with one of my exes. So I'm here, I'm cooking food. You're gonna come in, you're gonna introduce Alicia, and we'll just see how it plays out. Okay. All right, so, blah, blah, you guys come in. Right.
Hey, Jonathan, how's it going, man?
Hey,
good to
man.
see you.
What's up? Good to see you,
great.
too.
Yeah, awesome. Have you met Alicia?
I haven't. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
So what's going on these days, you?
Dude, I've been super busy. I just started a new job. We've got some awesome things going on. I'm going to be going out to Sri Lanka soon to accept this award from the UN.
No way.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I've never been there. Have you?
No, I've been wanting to go. So that's perfect. Let me pause there. Did you kind of catch what was going on? Okay, so I don't know if the cameras caught that. We'll do it one more time in slow motion. I'm going to talk through it as I'm doing it. So I'm standing here, I'm cooking, blah, blah, blah. What's up?
Hey, Jonathan, how's it going, man?
Hey, man. Good. What's up, Evan? Good to see you, too.
Oh, wow, awesome. Have you met Alicia?
I haven't. So I'm going to look in her eyes very briefly. Look in her eyes very briefly. So I look in her eyes, come in, do a little kiss cheek, come back out, and I'm going to look in her eyes as I pull away. So come in, kiss cheek. Nice to meet you. And then just off. So my attention's off her. So this is really important, right? The direct eye contact when you meet her, it makes that first impression, that little jolt of electricity. You come in for the kiss, you kind of pull her in a little bit, a little kiss on the cheek, so you're a welcoming host. It introduces a slight amount of sexuality to the conversation. You pull back out, you make the eye contact again, so you're making that connection one more time, and then you're just off. And she's like, whoa, where did that attention go? In the past, when I didn't really understand these dynamics, what it might have looked like would be like, hey, nice to meet you. So how do you guys know each other? Right? And all of my attention is on her. And that doesn't create the mystery. This exact scenario is, I love demonstrating this because this is my very first cover model girlfriend. This is how we got introduced. And she told me subsequently, she's like, the fact that you ignored me as soon as you met me, but made that eye contact with me, I was just thinking about you for the next 40 minutes. Who is this guy? So maybe it didn't have the same effect on you. I'm a little rusty these days, but yeah. So that's example number one. Number two, we're going to show how to kind of deal with a guy who you want to put down a little bit in status. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to walk up to a conversation that you guys are already having, and I'm going to, we'll just play it by ear. I'm just going to ignore you for a little bit. Hang on, let me grab my phone.
Sure.
This is a key prop. And a little bit of context on this one. I'm friends with a couple guys who, one of them owns a nightclub in town. The other one is one of the top promoters in Miami. And these guys, when they're out at night, I don't know if you go out with promoters every now and then, but these guys are out, they'll be talking to you and they'll be in mid-conversation and they'll just whip out their phone and start texting. And you just realize it's kind of part of the job. And that's because they got to get people hustled into the club. But it's a huge, you're just talking to them and they're talking to you, and all of a sudden they're just where the fuck did his attention go? So we'll do a little demo on that, right now. So so you guys are in the middle of your conversation, whatever, maybe talking about Sri Lanka. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Hey, Alicia. Yeah. How do you feel about neon colors?
I know, we're bringing the 80s to this party.
This is great, man. It's like middle school all over again, right?
What's up, guys?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Oh, not much. What's going on?
We're just talking about how we were dressed like middle
bringing
school.
the color to the party.
Yeah, I guess so.
You didn't get the memo, huh?
No, I got the memo that says I was supposed to look cool, but
Yeah.
But no, you look beautiful. Those colors look great on you. But I don't know about what you're wearing, man.
Oh, man,
yeah.
dude.
Actually, this isn't working out at all. But I did totally tool you. So I guess it's a good demo in one way. So let's so here, what we'll do here, let's do this instead. I'll start talking to you. We'll be in the middle of a conversation, then you'll come join us. Sorry about that. All right, so we'll be in the middle of a conversation, and you'll just kind of come join us. And what's really important is you really engage in the conversation. You really try to engage Alicia, and so I'll be like, oh yeah, we were just talking about cool places we've gone in the world, okay. And then you'll.
Oh, where have you gone? Yeah, okay.
But I really want you to be like, oh yeah, I just got back from, or I'm just going to, or
okay.
whatever.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Do this. Yeah, that's still there. Cool. All right. So we're in the middle of this conversation, and there's this guy Evan over there, and yeah. And like Costa Rica's got to be one of my favorites. It's
I've
gotta-
never been.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up?
What's going on?
Hey, what's up?
Good to see you, man.
Likewise, good
Yeah,
to see you too.
definitely. Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Alicia.
Alicia.
Hi.
Evan, yeah.
Evan. Nice to
So
meet you.
we were just talking about cool places we've been in the world.
Oh yeah, no way. Where have you been?
Top on my list is India. by far.
India. Okay.
Yeah,
You've been
it's-
there, or you're?
I know I've been. Yeah,
Been,
it's
wow.
weird, but
Okay.
it's awesome.
Awesome. Well, I'm headed to actually to Sri Lanka in a
Oh.
couple of weeks. Yeah, I just started this new job, and we won this award from the UN. So we're going there to accept it and like meet the prince or something like that.
Friends, awesome.
Yeah, I'm super stoked about it.
Dude, your story's too fucking good. No, so that's what I would do though. That's what I would do. I can't do that. I can't compute. Like you're
at the
meeting the
same
prince.
time-
I'm whipping
No,
out my
it's
cell
totally
phone. I know.
different.
You point up the phone and I'm going like this. It is distracting, you know.
Yeah,
and
of course,
it shows.
of course.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like it's hard to compete with the person who's going to Sri Lanka and meeting the prince, but it's still that's a demonstration of the technique, and most guys do not have that cool of a story. And so, I'm just like you notice I kind of look down, I looked away, I'm like just kind of ignoring him. Whip out my phone, I'm like bored. I'm like okay, fuck this, whatever. Just not really paying attention. So that's how you would selectively ignore a guy. Another thing that we can do is, if you want to, we'll repeat that same thing. I'm just going to burn a hole in your skull
Okay.
while you're talking, and you'll watch the lack of expression on my face is the key thing. So, all right, so you and I are talking, and so you've never been to Costa Rica.
I've never been. It's on my list. I'd love to go, but
You like waterfalls?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh.
See you, man.
Hey, what's up? Good to see you.
Hello.
Have you met Alicia?
No,
Hi,
hi. Nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to meet
Evan.
We were
How's it
just
going?
talking about cool places to go in the world.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
No way. Where
Yeah.
where have you been? What's really cool?
I mean, I've been to India. He's talking
Yeah.
about like waterfalls. I've never really been to a waterfall. But I'd love to
What?
go.
No, that's really cool.
Never been?
I've never been. Yeah.
Oh man.
Mhm.
So I haven't been to India, but I'm going pretty nearby. I'm going to Sri Lanka
For what?
for work. I just started this new job, and we won this award from the UN. So going there, we're going to like meet the princes and accept the award and all that kind of cool
Crazy.
stuff. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Sounds awesome, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
All right, good. That was it. That was it. Just like burning a hole in his skull and like, get the fuck out of my conversation is basically what my body language and my vibe is saying at that moment. So that's one. Here's another one though. Here's the flip side of this, and this is great for when you're winging somebody or work with your wingman on this so that they do it to you. So I'm going to introduce Alicia to Evan, and I'm going to make a little accomplishment intro, we call them. And now you're going to watch my expression as Evan talks. I'm going to be very expressive. I'm going to give him all of my body language, and I'm going to actually like kind of position. I'm going to almost turn my back to Alicia as I talk to Evan. So let's imagine. See, I want you to come in. Just make sure that we get it to work for the camera.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I want you to almost come in like from here. So you'll stand.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
you,
over here?
we'll block you over there. Right.
All right.
Perfect. So yeah, so you and I are talking
Okay.
and like this, and we're talking about our waterfalls and whatnot, and can't go chasing.
Love
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey man,
Hey,
what's
good to
up?
see you.
Great to see you too.
Yeah.
Hey, this is my friend Alicia.
Hey, Alicia.
Hi.
It's my
Evan.
really good buddy
Hey.
Evan.
Nice to meet you too.
So, dude, we were just talking about like awesome places we've been in the world, waterfalls, places we want to go. And aren't you going to like somewhere cool to meet someone important really
Oh
soon?
yeah, man, this is really awesome. I just started this new job,
Okay.
and we're going to Sri Lanka. We won an award from the UN, so we're
That's what
gonna
it
go,
is.
like,
Ah, that's so
yeah.
amazing. That's so incredible.
I'm so excited
Wait,
about it. man.
how is, so who are you meeting there?
We're actually going to meet the prince.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, how
Crazy.
awesome. Is that great? So very subtle, right? But that was good enough. I don't know if you guys caught that. Just you watched like my shoulder. It almost became like Alicia was not in the room. It was like just me and Evan for a
And
moment.
I couldn't get my attention to her.
Right. But I was grabbing it. But here's what I was going to do. The key part is if Alicia in that moment had been attracted to me, or at least like wanted to, be a part of this. Let's say not attracted, but at least she put some value on me. Right? She has some value because of our conversation. She's enjoying it. And and unfortunately, I'm taken, and I just can't give her the love that she needs. But Evan is a great pick for her, and I want her and Evan to just, something to work between them. What I'm going to do is all that value that she's ascribed to me, I'm just kind of going to give to Evan. So you can almost think of it like as energy transfer. Like she's into me a little bit, or at least she's friendly with me, and she likes me, and I'm not a threat, and she thinks of me as a nice dude. When Evan comes in, I'm just going to like be expressive. I'm going to and so I've made this accomplishment intro. I've given him all my attention. I've given him all my expression. And then at the last moment, I'm gonna be like, all right, hey, listen, by the way, guys, I gotta go grab a drink right now because my cup is empty. Do you want something?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. Can I get you something too?
Great.
All right.
Yeah.
Notice the order of it. Evan first, Alicia second. So the person who I'm giving the value to, I'm just totally trying to prop him up. So that's the key point here. This is hopefully what you and your buddies can do for each other. Ideally, this is what you want your buddies to do for you when you are the king, or if you want to make this stuff work. But it's really just giving all the value to your buddies, almost blocking the girl off, like not like that, right? But just like you just lose focus on her and you focused on him. You take care of him first. It's all about him, and then you make your way and you let them. You see what happens when you leave. So that's it. Thank you guys for that. I think that was a demonstration we needed for that, and that is actually the end of the segment. So thank you very much. So yeah, that's King Game, guys. You guys can have a seat. Do you have any questions about that? Oh, yes. Let's give them a round of applause. Evan is always amazing. Do you guys have any questions about that? I know it's some theoretical stuff. I know it's a lot of kind of manipulating situations in your favor and so on and so forth. Any questions about that?
All right, so it looks like initially, like you meet the girl, you ignore her. Do you also have some best practices for when you go back in, or is that coming later?
I love that you said best practices. So do you have some best practices for when you come back in? Really what you want to do here, that's a great question. So what you want to do is just continue to create value in the room. And what you will notice is if you do the intro that I showed you and you continue to create value in the room, she will be watching you. Unless she's single or unless she's like married or taken or, but she will be watching you if she's single and like if you made that right first impression. And her eyes will be on you. And what I've done in the past is usually I'll like bring somebody over. So in that particular scenario, I was like, hey, so-and-so, like you're not doing anything right now, are you? And she was like in a conversation. It's like, you're not doing anything right now, are you? Can you come chop these vegetables for me? So then she comes in. I'm like, no, you're doing it all wrong. So I kind of come over. I'm like, no, just like that. Then leave. So getting her to do little tasks, getting her to participate in stuff. Or maybe if you're just, if it's at a party, like, hey, like, can you help me pour these drinks? I got to get drinks for like 3 people. Can you get the wine? I'll get the, whatever. That just came to mind. But, so you'll see her eye on you. And then at various points through the evening, you can just kind of like, if you don't get her approaching you, which she will, if you have enough status in the room, she will, I promise. If you don't, or if she's just not quite that receptive to guys' status, maybe she was like responsive to it, but not like she's gonna chase it, then you just make the eye contact back. One thing that I love to do, this is like, right, it's so silly, but it works dangerously well, is a little wink. So I might just do like a little wink across the room, like, I see her and I'm like smiling, I'm in a conversation, I just catch her, I'm like, and just like this stupid little wink, and like, smile. I'm like, and she doesn't know what it means. It could be friendly, it could be sexual, but I could catch her attention with that. Then maybe I'd walk up to her and be like, did I catch you looking at me from over there? So it depends on how on you want to make it. But you can just kind of play it by ear. You can go straight on, you can do the wink. Did I catch you looking at me? Because I was definitely looking at you. So you could go direct, you could bring her in, have her do little tasks. You could, all sorts of things like that.
Let's say that you, for instance, you bring her over and be like, hey, I'm making some drinks, help me out with this.
Yeah.
Do you continue the challenge, or like, for instance, do you go just like friendly conversation? Great
question. Do you continue the challenge or do you go friendly conversation? I'm just trying to put myself in situations where I've done this. What it is, it's I'm selectively giving her more and more. So it's like, you just kind of have to use your social intelligence in that moment, and like whatever social intelligence you can summon. Like, if she, like in the cooking example, right? I'm going to tease her a little bit, like, no, you did it all wrong. Come here, okay, that's good, perfect. All right, so now I'm like rewarding her a little bit. That's great. All right, thank you. Run over to make the soup. All right, come back with. So how do you know so and so? Right, so maybe now I have rapport. But here's the thing, and you're asking this question. I'm so glad the way you're asking this. It just made me realize something. You're asking this from the perspective of a man who does not have women do stuff for him frequently. the idea that you have to be proactive in getting her to do stuff is something that King Game, if we want to call it that, completely obviates. Because if you do this stuff right, then she will be trying to build rapport with you. And that's usually what happens. She'll be like asking you questions. So, like, how long have you lived here? So, how'd you learn how to cook? So, how do you know so-and-so? She'll be the one building rapport with you. And at that point, you can like let out a little bit, you can tease her a little bit, you can be like, just like, I don't know, I got the place last night for a party. So, you just break rapport for a second. I just got the place last night for a party. I actually live in a box down the street. She'll laugh. You're like, no, I've been living here for 3 years. So usually it's like, I'm going to break rapport for a second, just be a little flirtatious, and then like give her the real answer to the question. Then come back in, where in the city do you live? All right, so start to build a little bit of rapport. But generally, if I notice that she's starting to work towards building rapport with me, and I don't know if these concepts make sense to you guys, but if she's working to build rapport with me, and she's asking me questions, and she's trying to get me to open up, I'm going to, again, it's tough to take a programmatic approach to this, but maybe the rule is something like, give her a snappy answer 1 out of every 4 times. I just rented the place last night. I live in a box down the street. Give her that snappy answer maybe 1 out of every 4 times, and the rest of the times be genuine. And like as we establish the playfulness and the flirtatiousness, start to move into more genuineness and like actually break into her life and reward her for trying to build rapport with you by doing the same and by learning about her life. And we talk about these things like punishments and rewards and breaking rapport. It's like when I say reward her, I don't want to sound like she's a dog. It's like, but at a certain point, if a girl's been trying to build rapport with you, like start to share with her. Just start to explore with her and see the mystery of it. Does that? Okay, that answers? Okay, cool. Any other questions on that stuff? Yes?
What if someone's trying to king game you, trying to subordinate you? How do you counter that?
That's another course. No, I'm just, really interesting scenario. You ever watch The Wire? Yeah. Okay, yeah, right. You remember that scene with I think is it Marlo? Who's the guy who kind of takes over? The real vicious one's Marlo, right? There's a scene where he walks into a candy store and he like steals some candy. The security guard comes running after him. He's like, "Hey man, you can't steal that." Kind of knows who Marlo is. And Marlo just looks at him. He's like, he gets right up in his face. He's like, "You think it's one way, it's actually the other way." And what's he saying in that moment? He's saying, your badge makes you think that it's one way. I own this place. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can kill you if I want to. You think it's one way, I think it's the other way. If somebody's trying to king game you, like let's take a couple different scenarios. There's the reality of the situation. If somebody has more status, they have more status. And there's little things you can do. I gave you some things to do to kind of like break status and change status. You can withdraw. That can be like, I don't approve of your status. So you can withdraw. You can give subtle approval. You can do all those things. But if somebody has status and it's actual status and everybody else recognizes that that person has status, then you have to have like a Steve Jobs-esque reality distortion field to break that. And I don't have that, and I don't know too many other people who have that. There's a certain point where it just is that way. King stays a king, yeah, exactly. So in a certain sense, yeah, if somebody has status, there's not a lot you can do to break that. What you can do is you can withdraw. You create your own scene. I mean, you do your own thing. Like one of the things that I've told people who have trained with me, like David Tien is a great example. Like he used to be very, he was always very subordinate in status to me, and he put himself in that situation because he was like learning from me, and I was his first coach. There was a point where we had a conversation where he was like, "Listen, man, like I realized like I need to break off. I need to create my own thing. I need to be my own guy because if I want to be the leader, if I want to make this work for me, then I can't always be subordinate to you." I was like, "Okay, I get that. Like totally fine." And he created his own reality, and people live in it, and people love it. So, that's kind of the best answer I can give you. Make new friends. If somebody's constantly tooling you. I've been told that I have the habit of constantly tooling other guys, and I really don't mean to. It's just like I'm very driven, I'm very motivated, I have a vision of how things should be, and I have a low tolerance for when things aren't that way. in social situations in business and all that. So I don't mean to like do that. It just sort of happens. So your decision at that point is, do I want to put myself around somebody like that, follow in their lead, and like take part in what's created, or do I want to create my own thing, take the risks of that, and build up my own legacy? I know we're talking big words, legacy here, but does that kind of answer your question? Okay, cool. Anything else? Great. So the next segment, we're going to have Nick Sparks join us again. He's going to talk about something that I'm not, like, I can do it, but I'm not a pro. This guy, like, I've never seen anyone this good, and that's approaching women. So we'll have him join us in a second.